Welcome to your solar return report. This is the Peace Dealer, and I hope you gain the utmost quality from this report. We are, of course, looking at the post-apocalyptic solar return chart based on July 11, 2020, at 4:10 a.m. where you were in Utah. Gunnison, Utah to be exact. So, given this energy, we are primarily looking at your presence of self gaining solar prominence and gift based on the second house as a Gemini rising. The solar return astro chart is its own chart, and what it does is it takes not the day you were born, but the exact minute and degree that you were born, and now takes every other planet that was in the sky when your sun returns at that same minute and degree, and of course now sets the next year moving forward accordingly. This is definitely a concept that I personally was skeptical of and didn't really believe worked like that until 2017, when I broke through my career and was able to utilize a platform of a very popular astrologer and a really awesome person, and really, broke through my career and was able to work full time. And for me, when that happened, my son was in the 10th house of the solar return chart, which denoted it being about career and career breakthrough, and that whole year I was busy. So that let me know that there is truth to the concept of solar returns, and also there definitely is a gift that you're able to tap into concerning that, which once again is even more important, seeing that this is post-apocalyptic, in that the literal apocalypse has already occurred. I'm sorry, that's misleading to say. It's not that it's already occurred. The literal apocalypse has already activated its cycle. And the reason why it's important to point that out, post-apocalyptic transits versus pre-apocalyptic transits, is mainly for the context they provide in an effort to make more realistic a whole lot of everything that you're going through. We know March 20 was when Mars was conjunct the Capricorn energies, and yeah, that in and of itself is what has enacted the apocalypse. So yeah, now that we see Mars here in Aries, this is still relevant because as a Cancer sun, it squares you. And if we also take into account your sun in Cancer, this is what is opposing this Capricorn energy. So as it pertains to the apocalypse, this is actually everything you're going to be dealing with all year. So I'm going to interpret this in a realistic, practical way to your life, but I'm not going to do you a disservice, and I'm going to make sure I very well bring in the whole, influence of the apocalypse in this reading, because you being opposite famine here, which is Jupiter at its fall in Capricorn, pestilence, okay, which is Pluto, and literal death, which is Saturn, or represented by Saturn, because we know Saturn is the reaper, right? It's the scythe that reaps the crops at the end of the harvest. And we know that Mars is war, which is now in its sign in Aries. So you actually, in opposition to this Capricorn energy, is juxtaposing now the lesson and purpose of this solar return. Holla at your boy. What is the self-esteem and value you cultivate and develop as a high priestess in yourself, expressed with and in the presence of others, so that you can honor the power you're not only developing, but also you can directly confront and deal with other people with integrity, as well as draw the necessary boundaries needed so that you're not tolerating disrespect from other people. And 8th house transits are all about boundaries, self-employment, dealing with other people's resources, and self-respect. In that, the more powerful your 2nd house is, the more you can deal with others because you have confidence in yourself. And also, the more confidence in 2nd house, self-esteem you have cultivated, the more you can boldly feel like you belong or express yourself out in your 11th house. And the more you can boldly share and express your 5th house. Thus, explaining the significance of the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th house axes in your chart. Which, once again, we want to highlight as very important, because not only is this the main crux of what you're learning or coming into with this solar return, but is also going to represent, with the North Node that's in the 1st, how you tie this all into uncovering the truth of your identity, which this solar return, as soon as September and December, will seek and serve to reveal. And that's another thing you want to keep in mind. A lot of this year is going to bless you with a very, very truthful, realistic understanding of who it is you are. And because this is in Gemini, this has everything more to do with you unlocking your physiology as an angel, or as an angelic being. Especially when taking into account and consideration the presence of Venus here, that even though it is not in your 1st, it doesn't fall in your 1st house, it's still in the same sign as your first house and will be seen as beautifying a lot of your personal expression as well, Ian. Not Orwellian, but as well, Ian. Yeah, so why that's significant is the only first house energy I had during my 2017 solar return was the moon. And it wasn't until the sun transited my AC that I became Magic Mike, which was a part of my solar return. So your solar return started after the AC. It started textbook second chapter, which is actually good. When you have the sun after the AC, it makes you more aware of the sequencing and narrative of your solar return chart lessons. And thus, we're going to see the AC triggered Virgo season, Pisces season, and directly Sagittarius season. Once again, well, actually before that, so because we have the node on your AC, every transit this year is going to revolve back around to what you truly identify yourself as. As you're taking the resources of amazing connectivity or meaning derived in relationships with other people, and every single experience, which in most cases, whether they are from your past life or not, will bring forth past life lessons and experiences in order to have you see, based on your connections with other people, okay, what the truth of you is. And as a master Cancer sun, or as a high priestess, with this Capricorn energy, you're going to be transforming a lot of how people take action with you and holding people accountable to integrity. And there's going to be breakthroughs in the cause-effect relationship between the utilization of your psychic power and just your presence and what happens to other people. And so all these experiences this year is going to slowly but surely add together a puzzle piece and picture of who you are, and more, to be more accurate, what you are, okay? Especially fulfilling this angelic mission this year, because the solar return rising is it's like the mask or the title you don, in this case is messenger, before you shift focus to another sign. And this is where, as a second house Cancer sun, you are producing and manifesting sincerity in an effort, once again, to take this sincere Holy Spirit, literal Holy Spirit, and to deal with evil. But, you can't really say that in this day and age. So let's just say to deal with a lack of integrity and purity in other people. And trust me, when I say other people, I specifically mean other people. That is not you. Whether they reflect you is a whole other story. But this is all about dealing with other people, hence why this is in your 8th house. And the Aries 11th house that falls on the 10th is now balancing, hence, Libra on the other side, your you're dealing with other people and how much you can filter those people who are allowed past or in your boundaries. Who can you now form authentic, raw connections with which you can forge forward authentically and passionately into career goals or your literal future, and carve the original nature of your legacy. So that being said, once again, it's very important we kind of acknowledge that This is all post-apocalyptic. You and we both are in around the same soul group, being born 89. I know you have Saturn in Capricorn, so this gives us both the same Saturn lesson. We're both going into our Saturn return. Sorry, we're both completing our Saturn returns, which is awesome. And so this is going to prepare you. I know I keep talking about this as post-apocalyptic, but that's not meant to like worry you or scare you, because you're definitely someone who is meant to help reconstruct and build after this apocalyptic period and energy, passes through, passes by, finishes, whatever you want to call it, when we now take into account, the presence of this apocalyptic energy, in your real life, this is definitely going to have much to do with your Cancer Sun's awareness of this facet in other people as you deal with them. Experiences, places, things, not just living creatures. It's almost as if you're having to deal with these primordial forces through people and through circumstances in an effort to transform the situations that you're in while preparing for this end of age. Because your North Node, being in that Pisces Aqua axis, not only means that you're destined to lead humanity into the new age, but it's a fancy way of saying that you definitely signed up for these periods to, come of age, activate your greatest power, and definitely become a teacher of knowledge. Seeing that no, that's not true. This is a solar return chart. But definitely, based on this year, become a teacher of knowledge, meaning that your MC is in Aquarius. So your AC is the messenger. So what messages are you sharing? That's the cosmic wisdom and knowledge in Aquarius that can apply as sociology, it can apply as astrology, it can apply as knowledge of death perception, it can apply as science in any field. Thankfully, this provides limitless applications. And it's also good to see that the ruler of your 8th house is 29 degrees Saturn at its master degree. And so this year is going to bring you a full completion of karmic lessons that have provided limitations and delays since 2017. It's a fancy way of saying that you're getting ready to experience throughout this year immense breakthrough that will define moving forward everything you're going to be in a position to do moving forward. So this now once again sets up a lot of what you're getting ready to accomplish, mainly for other people, so that you can come into the destiny, the true destiny of who you are. Venus's proximity to this, even though it's not right next to it, is also going to utilize the true connection of love and relationships with others as a key to unlock this facet of yourself. But it's not so much about like the true love as much as it is the mechanisms of interpersonal socialization that indicate in your heart that you're free to express what your mind freely expresses. And so such inhibition with certain characters that doesn't grant that freedom will highlight you on whether it is worth it to connect with certain people and also allow you insight into the nature of these people's characters. And this is where we get into the 12th house nature of this first house, Venus, falling in the 12th, where most people, the Venusian discernment will be hidden from others, as what goes into you really testing whether they're trustworthy or not. And that has a lot to do with how receptive they are to your heart's truthful expression, or the heart's truthful expression. So, we also want to take into account Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde in the solar return chart, falling in the first house as the second house Mercury retrograde, really spoke of the reevaluation period that goes into really sorting through sincere methods of processing your thoughts about your emotions and being able to hear the tonality in people's voices so that you can gauge a person's state by vocal tone. It is the square to Aries that will frustrate and challenge how realistically you are in a position to openly confront energies and forces that seek to undermine the assertion of your character due to stupid gender roles or due to just some willingness to undermine you. It's definitely very important moving forward, because a whole lot of how you personally come into much of this power will be through every single clash that this year will bring in an effort to use this square to create more power, more courage, and more confidence through the direct addressing of hits in your self-esteem that definitely don't necessarily allow you powerfully to really connect with wounded parts of your ego. Hence the Chiron aspect that we see here accordingly. Mercury is going to communicate aspects of yourself that will be vulnerable to share assertively out there because of how you know other people's opinions, or just because of how you know it could be received by other people. And every time this is revisited once again, this will slowly but surely bring greater healing, kind of like in a way where you might be so nervous to speak out loud, and I don't mean you personally, but as an example, and it's like the more you speak out loud, the less nervous you are because you've gotten so used to projecting your voice. This, I feel, is less of vocal projection and it is more actions and like not being inhibited to express passionate action, because the moon being with Mars here and Chiron is deeply vulnerable. It's one that can take instinctual action based off of vulnerability if not careful. And so this is where the Cancer energy literally must put it in check. The Capricorn serves as a bit of a brake function for the accelerating pad of the Aries energy. But Cancer is that wisdom and sincere approach to this energy that will help you gain context, considering how deep one can harness this instinctual energy, and feeling, how wise it would be to pour on a bit too much fire. This is where you may pour a bit of water to dampen a lot of the fire energy. This is important because the solar return moon gives us incredible insight, or real insight, into the feel of this year for you. For example, my progressed moon was in Capricorn, while my solar return moon was on my AC in Virgo. And so I was very busy that year. It was all about sorting through my time and working practically. This is all about really just tapping into your raw, primal, original emotions, and its proximity to the 11th could facilitate an extroverted nature of just being out there, connecting. You don't even have to be with other people. This could be a solo mission where you're taking individual action that your moon is guiding you out to. You want to think that your soul, close enough to Neptune, will act like an antenna to push you out into scenarios and situations that very powerfully activate this greater level of discovery as it pertains to allowing your instinctual and independent individual action to not only carve out the goals that you set to achieve this year, but define your character. And it's that square to Mercury retrograde that's going to challenge how sincerely you can take all this passionate Aries energy and express that with enough compassion that still takes into account the raw realness of it. Because Aries is all about itself, theoretically, and then Cancer starts to care before we get to Libra. That is all about cooperation and like fairness. Like, I have to make sure what I do is fair to other people. Aries has that obligation with the opposition to Libra, but is more inclined, as it should, to act independently. So you want to make the Cancer Aries squares to make sure that you care, but you don't care so much that you forget where you come from, if that makes sense. Because some people could care so much in their soul Libra that they forget their own original idea that they were supposed to bring in the first place. And then, of course, you don't want to be too Aries, where you only focus so much about yourself, you don't care about other people. So this is where the Cancer energy and how you identify yourself not only builds value, but fulfills this year's lesson in terms of raising the value, transforming the client base, transforming the nature of dealing with others, and transforming the investment and trust that people give and put into you with their resources and character, so that you can raise your value, so that you can come into more wealth, so that you can manifest more compassionate psychic power and self-esteem and confidence in the expression and utilization of this psychic power, but also come into a much more realistic identification of how much you have grown throughout this period and have been put in a position to harness divine ascension. Because unlike previous years, Neptune in Pisces is now at a 9th house level, literally closing trining your sun, which all year will enable and allow for a heightened quality and sense of literal magic, but intuitive awareness to now help you glean unseen phenomena to overlap like an augmented reality over this real world. It's a fancy way of saying you will literally see guides. You will literally see psychological maladies manifested in people's states. You will literally see the highest exalted level of the spiritual nature of what metaphysical properties and phenomena is happening. All right, that's the key word for mutable signs. It's a state of happening, congruent with this real world. And of course, as an unseen energy, the principle of tapping into this is feeling. So this is going to be felt. All right, that being said, we can get into the solar return. So we know that this year is really challenging how independently, because the vibration this solar return brings this year accordingly is original sincerity, raw psychic power that's expressed forth truthfully. Your receptivity to the characters of others this year is what will accordingly imbue deeper wisdom and compassion in your dealings with them. It may, of course, make this year more chaotic because the testing of the eighth house will bring people and attract individuals to you who lack integrity, who lack purity, to blatantly cross your boundaries. So like the whole notion of people in general crossing your boundaries has to happen. Otherwise, you won't be able to define them properly. It's like you need certain people to disrespect you so that you can teach yourself how to teach others how to respect you. And I mean, that's not going to excuse any disrespect that comes in. People still need to take responsibility for that. But this is still going to allow you the opportunity to G-check the living crap out of people. And hopefully their feelings are hurt. And hopefully their egos are bruised. Because they should have never crossed that line. And I mean, trust me, Pluto and Saturn are literally ready to kill. Sorry, let me not call them murderers, because these are celestial overlords. And in some cases, evil geniuses. But let's not even say that they're evil. Saturn and Pluto will end the lives of anybody who aim to disrespect you and cross these boundaries. And when I say end the lives, it is a serious matter. It'll only happen this year. After this year, it won't be that extreme. But that just goes to show how paramount and extreme your dealings with others will be. And that's really because you're in a position to incredibly transform the nature of people's lives. There's so much you're going to put in to synthesizing this knowledge and awareness in an effort to do so. And this is why you really can't be in a position to allow disrespect from people, because this is definitely going to highlight how dangerously letting people who lack integrity in your personal life can ruin yours, because this is all going to go opposite your sun. The eighth house is the house of intimacy. It's the house of trust. And it's also the house of other people's resources and taxes. So, this eighth house energy is going to be drawing that line very powerfully so that you don't trust the wrong people. And it's trusting in the right people that are going to bring powerful individuals that can bring such profound transformation into your life. The eighth house is also going to illustrate facets of other individuals with which you can partner with, because now we have to take into account that as a Cancer sun, this is all your seventh house. So this is still fulfilling the lesson of creating powerful partnerships with people. Everything that I'm saying right now is to really bring up the fact that you are monstrously powerful. You are super powerful. And it's a year like this that's going to awaken that through the catalyst of having to deal with other people. Oh, you're going to be super rich, dude. We see Uranus that is trying this, that will really serve to automate a lot of your income and ability to utilize people in an effort to raise your value based on your service to them. And it's thankfully due to this that will make this aspect less harsh, because as a Gemini rising, Uranus and Taurus is now the 12th, even though it falls in the 11th. So this is going to make for a paranormal and unconventional year. especially when we take into account technological, how do I say it? Technological mishaps that have deeper meaning on the surface than we'll see. So we know for a fact that Leo to Sagittarius is empty. This represents the social and a part of the collective energy. Hence, of course, speaking of you being in a position to very appropriately focus more of your energy individually, which a lot of people are going to have to do, especially with this quarantining and distancing. The significance of having this half of your chart empty means that you're going to explore it this Leo season, this Sag season, but it's really just meant to oppose and complete all your individual energies using other people and situations with other people to develop this as a catalyst or to grow out through experience. And this is where you are gaining considerable growth in the independent individual locale and function of your energies in order to help you be even more, powerful with the way you express yourself moving forward. Oh, nice. When we now take this into account of transits, you have successfully begun your solar return. And so if we want to once again re-illustrate, just like 2017, my 10th house solar return as a Virgo rising broke me through into greater success. Your second house solar return is going to break you in through the money. Because second house, sixth house, 10th house are all money houses. And so Neptune being your 10th is going to transcend your career. And it's not only going to transcend your career, this is going to single-handedly manifest your dream job. Neptune transcending the 10th brings the dream job. And it is not that it brings the dream job. It actually can make career very difficult, because now you're putting a house that's supposed to be practical and all about real things. You're putting this in the house of Pisces with Neptune, which is all about dreams, which is all about abstract fantasies that can make it hard for people to ground. How do you live a dream of something that may not necessarily be the most easy to, realistically ground? And that's what you're going to overcome by completely, manifesting the life of your dreams. And this is less about the job you do and more about just creating this sense of yourself out in the world, which is very, very, very important, because a whole lot of how you personally, tap into this energy is coming into Scorpio season when this hits your sixth house, going to set into motion the ability to integrate all this notion in your lifestyle. So from Cancer season to Capricorn season is the literal building of what is going to lead into you securing this bag and this wealth. So that by Capricorn season, you've manifested this initially. And then by the time we get back to Cancer season the next year, you see your wealth. But that's not to say that you have to wait a whole year for you to get it. In 6 months, this will be manifested. But in another 6 months, back to Cancer season is where you will have established it. You will have manifested the wealth 6 months from now, and then 6 months after you've used that wealth to now move to a next level or create more wealth. But we want to see the 6 month manifestation cycle is being honored in Capricorn by December, where you will have learned your lessons with dealing with others and gain more confidence, and now directly be able to come into investments and money. It's not so much about money as much as it is about sincerity, as much as it is about comfort. And this comfort can manifest in stacks. So, I just don't want to limit it to just money. As a Gemini rising, or as an air rising, wealth and value is abstractly defined in whatever feels good. And that, of course, has limitless applications. So it's more so about a secure feel, which, of course, a lot of money will manifest. And so you definitely do want to see this as a great career year, but not about practical earth work. This is about really more so adding to your value so that you're the valuable one no matter what you're doing. And this is where now from Cancer to Libra season now initiates this conflict through Leo, Virgo, and Libra, bringing into a much more powerful realization now the challenges that come into drawing these boundaries. Hence you going into Leo season, which as we come into the new moon end of this week into the next week, will carve out the necessary golden attitude as a Gemini rising so that you could express forth boldly the ideas of what you're manifesting and what confidence you're creating. This is what is going to transform how you deal with others so that you could expand more boldness, because Leo is the 8th house to Capricorn. And once we step into Virgo season, this is what's going to worldwide begin to change reality for everyone based on the work we've done over the past 6 months to change our habits or to lead to this point. For you, this is where, with that new and full moon in Virgo, you will now begin to gain real insight into what this dream vocation for you looks like, what this fantasy world for you looks like, and you're going to gain the how you can actually, over the next 6 months leading into Pisces season of 2021, make this a reality. And this is everything that you're definitely going to break through as soon as Virgo season, as far as already beginning to manifest value relative to this new cycle to lead into the completion of this in Capricorn season. You want to look at that grand Earth trine. That's definitely going to facilitate a lot of the movement of this material resource in order to add more abundance. And this is also going to help considerably with how realistically you can gain deeper practical understanding of what needs to be transformed relative to conflicts that have arisen. The square to Venus in Gemini will also make sure that there are real practical means of grounding the ever-present truths and more philosophical guidance of the truth and rather guidance of the heart you've been gaining. Because by this time, Venus is now well into Leo. It's not in Gemini anymore in the transit. Libra season now is what is going to flesh out the meaning of this T-square this has through the context of interpersonal social relationships with others that come to a climax and head. Libra season has the potential to be very dramatic. So you want to take everything you're going through this season concerning the growth of attitude and courage with which to even express some of these ideas and express those ideas. And what that's definitely going to do accordingly is very, very, very powerfully, put you in a position to now, through your relationships with others, set into motion a lot of, what you have to do to draw these boundaries accordingly, as well as fuel much of this original passion to set up artistically, creatively, and with great talent, much of how you're going to express these altruistically with other people. You're going to be fueling a lot of this Aries energy into your social situations so people can tap primarily into this rawness that's being cultivated. And it's the squares to Capricorn during Libra season in October that's going to take this awareness of boundaries that needs to be enforced, but also the incredible nature of transformation with which you're dealing with others, and start to see breakthroughs in the real people you're dealing with. Because from Libra to Capricorn season, this is where we're going to integrate this initial change and actually now see it take effect in your relationships with other people. But Libra season is now the decisive element that is, or rather, it's now the altruistic, artistic element that will lead to the decision in Capricorn, but will now bring to a head all the clashes. That's going to be the second boss battle for everyone. And for you, that's definitely going to be a period of time that fleshes out more realistically than ever what in your relationships with others and who you're in relationships with, that will bring up differing ideas and opinions, or maybe even ones that are alike, the purpose of which is to transform your nature in relationships with them. Because remember, as a Gemini rising, this is all your fifth house of creativity. And so the 11th house is the audience. And based on the value you're developing, the purpose of Libra season this year is to extend forth on that so that you can reflect this confidence in more courage, expressing your talents, whether you're a stage performer or whether you're giving very important conversations and dialogues with others. That confidence is what's going to lead to the transformation. It's not about convincing people you're right. It's just about eloquently expressing yourself. And that is being built now in Leo season. Boom. Then we go into Scorpio season. And the opposition with Uranus here is what's going to take into account an unconventional innovation of your lifestyle by harnessing wisdom, all right, occult wisdom that you've accumulated up until this point to literally transform your behavior over the next 6 months, which we will see manifested fully May of 2021. It's very important to illustrate a lot of these will be new endeavors, because your general willingness, once again, to tap into this energy really has much more to do with how vulnerable you're willing to, come to terms with how realistically you are not only transforming, but how well you're dealing with the psychic attack that could come from others too. Because let's not forget, this is all in opposition to you. That's not easy. That really does hurt. It does have the potential to be very difficult, and it's not necessarily going to put you in a position where you have the luxury of just ignoring some of this actually happening to you. It's a direct confrontation that's meant to make you more powerful through your direct dealing with nebulous qualities and other characters. This doesn't mean everyone's going to be bad, because in the rare case that someone has purity and integrity, you're going to be building with those people to bring the most incredible transformation and to manifest great investment into your value concerning this. So what really matters the most is how realistically you're in a position, especially during Scorpio season, to integrate all of these facets now into your lifestyle, day-to-day routine, and everything that's going to go into dealing with other people. If we now once again take into account that this Scorpio season will be trining Neptune and the Sun, this is also going to bring into awareness now how to integrate a lot of your value in Cancer to connect with the dreams and the intuitive guidance Neptune is taking to very powerfully manifest your vocation. And not just your vocation, your dreams. Okay? Because the reason why I'm working my dream job right now is because Neptune was transiting my 10th. So for a long time, I was a bit fogged out about this. I was like, how am I going to make a living doing this spiritual work. Like, it's near impossible. But, you know, going through it wasn't always easy. But putting that faith in that led me to where I am, and now I'm in a position that, you know, it's not going to be easy for other people to. But I had to go through the trials. I had to believe. And so it's not nearly going to be as difficult for you because you're super powerful, my friend. And it's going to be the Scorpio season that will really give you real, factual, productive, practical insight into not only how to make this a reality, but to transform your behavior to step into that. That's what now leads us to Sagittarius season. And we are now getting ready after Sagittarius season to manifest the full merit of your whole solar return chart, starting Cancer. So Sagittarius season is the last nature of this, where in Sagittarius season, you now come into keen insight into the truth of who you are based on the relationships that show up in your life, and based on how you respond in your interactions with them, reveal this accordingly. This is definitely going to be an amazing period that will also tap into this solar return Aries power that you have in an effort to really add more assertion and passion in your dealings with others, so that this can open up very amazing chapters and once again fulfill that North Node aspect by unlocking and uncovering the meaning that you'll hold space for others to see, so that you can know more of the truth of yourself. And this is where, with that eclipse during this period, it unlocks such truth about you relative to this year that this manifests directly into the second house Cancer and adds so much compassionate wealth and worth to your being. That, my friend, is what leads into Capricorn season and begins the manifestation chain from Capricorn back to your birthday. Because come Capricorn season, we're getting ready for all this direct outer planet energy to move in Aquarius, Alpha Overdrive, and now based on your solar return Cancer season, everything will now start to manifest moving forward from Capricorn. Starting from Capricorn season, you're manifesting your second house. You're coming into greater confidence. You're directly dealing with these other people, wrapping up the lessons of boundaries that need to be drawn, and those changes are now made with the awareness of the sun in Capricorn. Bang. Then we're going to go into Aquarius, where we're going to have the new moon and all this Jupiter and Saturn energy in Aquarius, which will begin to king-punct your sun. And this is going to manifest the Leo season lesson that's happening now with greater boldness to express the philosophy of knowledge that you have been cultivating, and now teach this MC lesson as an AC messenger so that this can add to your wealth and value. Then coming into Pisces season, we're going to become grossly aware of what your dream job and vocation looks like. This is going to be the beginning of actually seeing it come to form, needing 6 extra months to now maintain it and make it a real thing. And so this is going to be the beginnings of breakthrough regarding now seeing what it looks like when you are in your power and you have dealt with these boundary issues accordingly. Then we're going to go into Aries, and this is going to wrap up that vulnerability and being able to stand more firmly in your confidence, okay, with your ability to now, on the other end of this, where you're at Libra, see how you've balanced this and see how you can connect with those who you were able to trust and make it through that 8th house barrier. Then we're going to go into Taurus season, and you're going to manifest this transformation of your behavior and stronger, unconventional, innovative values that also serve to unlock latent potential and supernatural ability within you, which is just super badass. And that's what's going to lead into Gemini season before we close out the solar return, and you will have finally manifested the truth of what you are as an angelic being this year, all right? And this is what's going to now make sense of all your connections with partnerships with people, leading back into your birthday where you start a new solar return. You're richer than ever. You're more confident than ever. And your self-esteem has skyrocketed. So if you're not better off financially, you'll be better off with self-esteem, which will lead into more financial gain. Okay. And I hope you enjoyed this solar return report. You stay blessed as always, and until next time.